I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey you guys, and welcome back to the News du Jour, a calmer space to consume the news. So in case you haven't heard, we have something called a Patreon. And if you're confused, like what the heck is a Patreon? Do not worry. It is basically where you can contribute and become a patron, hence the name Patreon, of our podcast and basically support all of our work. We have a lot of projects that we want to complete that we can't do without funding. Period. And when you become a patron, you're basically allowing us to do more of the work that you love, and therefore you're funding more content for yourself to consume. So if you have $7.99 a month to give, our link is in our show notes. That is how much is the basic level, but you can give as much as you want. We even have patrons who give $100 a month. So if that's something that you are interested in, you can head to, again, the link in our show notes, but it's also just www.patreon.com/sugarfree media. Thank you so much also to our existing patrons. If you become a patron, you'll see we have like a cookbook in there, bonus episodes that you guys can binge that, are exclusive for patrons and things like that, little perks. We try and throw perks in there as much as we can. I also wanted to let you guys know that today is a pretty light news day, but there were a few things that I thought were important to take a look at before the weekend. Let's jump in. So first up, we have a mini story. The judge in the Trump Georgia case has now requested protection for the jurors in this trial. You see, the jurors who made up the grand jury that initially indicted Trump in Georgia, they were harassed mercilessly online and threatened once someone leaked their names and information. So the judge is looking for these jurors to be protected at all costs to ensure both their safety and a fair trial. For this first longer story today, I wanted to issue a content warning. This story involves women and children being gravely harmed by war. So we have to touch on what's going on in Sudan, you guys. The people of Sudan are tired. They have been dodging catastrophes for so many years, whether it is extreme economic downturn, natural disasters, genocide, or all-out war. They have dealt with so much. These people feel that nowhere is safe for them because different areas of the country keep erupting and giving them reason to flee. 5 months ago, as we covered on this podcast, there was a coup in Sudan. Chaos broke out and the fighting is ongoing today, and now a mass exodus has begun. Over 1 million people are fleeing this fighting. It's easy to hear that number and kind of like shrug your shoulders. It's a big number, but it's so big, it's almost hard to like get your head around. So bear with me here as I try to help it sink in with a little context. My hometown of Tulsa, Oklahoma has about 400,000 residents. So more than 2 Tulsas, really 2.5 Tulsas, have just up and abandoned their homes. They've abandoned their belongings, their jobs, and their lives and just left. All of them traveling by any means they can find. So imagine the chaos with that. So because everyone is leaving their jobs, money just isn't circulating there. And that's when everything collapses. Stores are not staffed. Farmers are not farming. So food becomes really difficult to come by and money to pay for it even more difficult. This is a horrific humanitarian disaster with babies and children dying of starvation on the side of the road, rampant sexual assault, and much more. It is a really devastating, heartbreaking situation. In response to what's going on, the U.S. has imposed these sanctions against senior leaders of the country, making it harder for them to travel to the United States and things like that. Trying to force them to get their act together and stop all of this violence. Their people are deprived of food, water, basic medicine, and electricity. More than 5.2 million people in total have been displaced, and again, over 1 million are fully leaving this country. We'll definitely keep you guys posted on this ongoing conflict, but as it is so important, if you would like to contribute to aid efforts to help keep babies fed, you can donate at the link in our show notes. Again, we'll keep you posted. Prayers up for Sudan. Next up for today, Hunter Biden. So the Justice Department has announced that they are planning to indict Hunter Biden on gun charges later this month. This is following the plea deal that kind of fell apart recently. It's still all kind of up in the air. Hunter's lawyer said that he believes the original deal, quote, remains valid and prevents any additional charges from being filed, end quote. Obviously, this is just heaping more drama on an already very dramatic presidential election season. But at the end of the day, in one instance, it's a president's son who is being indicted. And in the other instance, it's an actual president being indicted with a ton of very serious charges. If you guys remember, these charges against Hunter came about because he checked a box saying no when he was asked if he was a, quote, unlawful drug user, end quote. This was when he was purchasing a handgun. At the time, he was sober, but he was kind of struggling with his sobriety, but he did seek treatment for his addiction and has no other criminal history. So it's obviously a super murky situation. Nobody can really say for sure whether he was actively using drugs or not at that exact time. But at the same time, our gun laws are there for a reason, and they must be respected for everyone's safety. So it is fantastic that these laws are being looked into and enforced. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. Lastly for today, before we go, we're going to update you guys on 2 weather-related stories. First weather-related story is Hurricane Lee. So Lee has officially become a hurricane. No bueno, but this was expected. It is spinning out in the Atlantic, and they are predicting that it will become as high as a Category 5 hurricane. It is still early to predict specifics like wind speed or anything like that, but it looks like a very powerful storm. They are predicting that it will hit Puerto Rico this weekend. From there, we're not sure where it will go or what strength it will be, but we'll definitely keep you guys posted as this storm heads our way. And our last story for the day, the Brazilian cyclone. So there was a catastrophic cyclone in southern Brazil this week that displaced 3,500 people and killed 37. People were riding Sea-Doos up streets where cars should be, bridges were collapsing, and human beings were seen making chain links with their arms in an effort not to get swept away by the floods. They experienced strong winds, floods, and mudslide, and also 11 inches of rain, according to Brazil's National Institute of Meteorology. Obviously, power outages are widespread and dangers still exist given all of this standing water. They can still see landslides, mudslides in the days following just because the ground is shifting. Our prayers are up for you, Brazil. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "No reason to stay is a good reason to go."